I will get this going. So officially welcome everybody to the Meet the CFA event. We are the South Carolina Society. And my name is Karen Azer, and I'm on the board and I oversee this program. And we also have with us Katie Stokes, and she is also a board member, and she oversees both membership as well as candidates, the candidate issues. So we can look to her for those questions. And I also have Liz DeFreitas. She comes here from Charlottesville, Virginia, and she will discuss any issues we have related directly to the Institute today. And just so everybody knows, our next month we will have Justin Pickney, who's also on the board. And this will be October 29th at 12 p.m. So we'll remind you again at the end of this event so you can mark your calendars for that. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our speaker, Paul Meeks. He is a portfolio manager and on the investment committee for the Independent Solutions Wealth Management Company, and he's a frequent guest on CNBC. And we'd now like to turn this over to him to tell us about how the CFA has helped him in his career and helped him get through doors throughout his career. So please take it, Paul.
Thanks, Karen. Well, welcome everybody, even if you're playing from home. I'll give you a little bit about my background. So first, I'm Paul Meeks, M-E-E-K-S. I've been a CFA since '96, but I've been a equity analyst or a PM going back to soon after I got out of undergrad in the mid '80s. And so the first point I would make is some people feel that the CFA program is for the nerds or for the math gurus. And I would have to tell you that that was not my case, so that shouldn't dissuade you. I went to undergrad at a place called Williams College, which is a small liberal arts school. And I probably wrote a hell of a lot more papers than I ever did doing any equations. And so there I had a couple of directives. I played football, lacrosse. I drank a lot of beer. I chased ladies when I was drinking beer. And then in a distant runner-up status, I did a little studying. But when I studied, I actually double majored in history and political science. So that tells you the tale right there. No math, no science, not necessary. I actually wanted to be in the CIA. And when I got out of school, I actually went through a couple rounds of interviews, but didn't get the gig. So anyway, I did something else. So one of the things that I think about the program is you can slip in and get that backbone in finance and math, even if you did not come that way through your undergraduate or before education. And now that I've been at this for a couple decades, and particularly with the advent of the internet and all these tools that are now available to us, free in real time, I would tell you that I think if I were to look for an analyst today, and I've been a director of research at a couple of shops, so I have hired people. But man, today I would look for someone who is like a Sherlock Holmes character that is able to dig for data where? On the internet. And hey, if you had some math skills, that would be some icing on the cake. So I think that's what you need. You need to be intellectually curious. And again, think about a 2020 version of Sherlock Holmes, particularly adept at combing through the web and finding data. And so when I got out of undergrad, I did some stuff for a while, but I got into the business. But I got into the business on marketing and sales, right? Because I love to hear myself talk, but I didn't know SHIT about math. And so that's how I got into business. And after a while, I said, you know, if I'm going to be here, I really need to, you know, get the underpinnings of the finance. And so I ended up going to the Kellogg School for my MBA. And there I did some more finance. And then when I got out of school, I got my first money management gig at Strong Funds, which today is a part of Wells Fargo Asset Management. Of all places, it's in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, which is near Milwaukee. And when I got there, I was in a bullpen with a bunch of other analysts, right? I didn't have a lot of experience. I just had an MBA. And I remember a portfolio manager tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to look at Intel, the semiconductor company. Again, I'm not a software coder, but of course I said, yes, sir, happened to be a dude. And I did a good job with Intel, probably because it was, the right time to buy a stock. It had nothing to do with me, but the guy made some money off of it. And so then I kind of became the guy in the bullpen that was the tech guy. And here's a guy that, was a history and political science major. And so I decided to get my CFA. So I get my MBA in 92. I'd worked for 3, 4, 5 years before I had my MBA, and decided that since I started working for the strong funds, that I really needed the CFA. Not just for something on your business card, but I was intellectually curious and I thought it was important. And then when I went through the program, oh yeah, super important. So I got my CFA in 96. I gave myself the opportunity to take level 3 twice. So I was on the 4-year plan. And I will tell you one thing about the exam. This is what you have to remember. You always have to stay up with current events, because here's my scenario. I passed level 1 and 2 pretty easily, but level 3, I had studied all the material because, man, I actually like reading that stuff. That's all I do now. And if you're an old timer like me, back in the mid 90s, Merrill Lynch blew up Orange County, California by recommending some derivatives trades. And so I studied the level 3 material, and I took all of the prior year exams. And in each of those exams of the prior years, there was about 5% dedicated to derivatives, right? There was barely even any articles in the material about it. And so I studied for that proportion. And then I get to the exam, and because it was in the news, so if you guys are taking the exam, make sure you follow the news. Like right now, it would probably be something about COVID. And I opened up that thing, and I went, oh, shit. The whole thing was about derivatives. And so, of course, the next year I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared the first year. So that's one thing to know. Another thing I'll tell you, because one of the things I've done since 2005, so it's pretty long now, is I try to give back through teaching. I've been an adjunct finance prof at 3 universities going back to 2005. So right now I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I teach at both the Citadel Military School and also the College of Charleston. And I'm always asked, particularly when people know that I have a CFA, because I'm typically the only person on the faculty with it. And, I'm an adjunct. I'm not a, full-timer. And so they'll say, Paul, because I don't want the professor stuff. I didn't earn that. I just say, call me Paul. And they say, Paul, should I get an MBA or a CFA? So here's another gem I think I can pass along to you. If you are laser beam focused on being an analyst, right? So you want to get in and delve into companies, doesn't matter if it's equity or fixed income or hedge funds or whatever, then I think the CFA is awesome and the only thing that you need. I think that the MBA, because I have both, and I went to the Kellogg School, which I think is a pretty good program. If you go into grad school, say you're in marketing and you're working for Procter & Gamble, and then you want to come out and be an entirely different industry, I think an MBA is good for a career changer, right? Good for a career changer. You go in doing one industry, you want to come out doing something else. But for me, I feel that my MBA was really expensive, took a couple years out of my career that was unnecessary, and it never gave me the leverage because I went in to my MBA program in the investment business and returned to the same industry. I think you just get the CFA. So I tell my students, dude, you're a senior. Do you want to be an analyst? Oh, absolutely. I want to do what you do. I want to cover stocks. All right, just get the CFA. I think it's actually much more impactful. You'll learn more, you'll save money, and you'll save time. Maybe complement it, or maybe frankly even replace it with an MBA if you're a career changer. and the change that you make may have nothing to do with financial services. So that's another thing that I think. So I've been doing this a long time. I've been a research director at a couple firms. And if I see two resumes come in for the same gig, I see CFA and I see Harvard MBA because I've actually seen that. Um, I probably go for analytical positions for the CFA. Again, I think it's spot on. And the other thing that really impresses me about CFA is because I've known from the lashes on my back how tough it is that this is typically a person, it's either a student late in his or her academic career who is studying the CFA materials, level one, like an extra class, may have even participated in the research challenge, which I think is a cool thing if you can do that with your school. Or it's somebody like me, when I did it, you're pretty young, you're just out of school, and you are working all day and you're going home and studying at night. Now that's typically the MO, that somebody is studying on his or her own time quite often while working a full-time job. So the fact that it's the CFA, it's the gold plate standard, it's laser beam focused on that stuff, the fact that somebody is going beyond the call of duty to do this on the side shows me that that person wants it. And so I say, that guy versus the Ivy League MBA. That's just my opinion. And so I really admire the program. This is the first time after all these years, I'm now in my mid-50s, where I am actually, volunteering for, a board position, doing this kind of stuff. The firm that I work for, Independent Solutions, man, they lever the hell out of the CFA. Every time I'm introduced, we're not a large firm, kind of a mid-sized asset manager. And they say, well, we got these two CFAs on our investment committee, these two guys, Paul and John. I think they probably overdo it. But again, yeah, it gives you some cred. And I think it's cred that's well-deserved. And again, you will learn a lot. And if you're like me, you'll enjoy it. And so I've gotten so into it that over time, I've decided to add my CAIA, which is Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst. So I'm actually studying right now for my level 2 to complete that one. So the bottom line is, you young people, kids, that the old dog can learn some new tricks. But so that's my experience. Yeah, let me pass it along, and I guess we'll at some point get to questions if there are any.
And actually just on that CAIA as well, is after I talked to Paul about this, he piqued my curiosity at that. And they actually, if you have a CFA, you do get a skip out of you're exempt out of the first level. And they're going to do that for 7 years. And I believe that's only the second year of that program. So, if your career is taking you into the alternative investments as well, that's going to be a dynamite combo. So kudos to you, Paul, for pursuing that.
Well, in my later stages of my career, I work with one family office in particular. And of course, as family offices, endowments, foundations, quite often they have a much bigger allocation to alternatives than they do to the public markets. And so I felt I needed to learn about private equity and private credit and hedge funds and venture capital. And even though as a tech analyst, I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley, the whole 90s, I was a technology analyst in Silicon Valley, California. But yeah, I wasn't exposed to that stuff. So, I say bring it on. But yeah, it's Karen's absolutely right. It's a 2-year program instead of a 3-year program for the CFA. And you get to waive, which of course I did, the first level. And then even in the second level, and I assume in the first level, a big portion of the exam for CAIA is an ethics section, no surprise. And what do you use to study? You use the CFA Standards Handbook. And so that is duplicated in both programs. So yes, Karen, good 1-2 punch, you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. And even further to that is if if you're going to be an analyst on the sell side, working for a broker dealer, the CFA and also a registered investment advisor, there are certain of the licenses that you get exempt out of as well. The Series 65 is one of them if you're working for an RIA. So it seems like all paths go through the CFA to get you to wherever you want to go in the investment world.
Yeah, I think on the sell side, of course, the big deal is if you go out of school and you work for any of these wirehouse firms, they give you plenty of time to study for the Series 7. I've had the Series 7 in the past and I've let it lapse. So at one time I did take the test and pass it, but my, at least the interpretation of the compliance department at my current firm is that not necessary with the CFA. So I waived the big one out of all those tests, which is the Series 7 because of the CFA.
And I've had that experience as well. I got mine 30 years ago, and I let it lapse when I moved over to the buy side. And
was that when you were 9 years old?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey. And the CFA, I laugh and I tell people, get me into the right home, when they're looking for assisted living, because it just has a branding. And in LinkedIn, as you know, the younger folks really use a lot of that social media. And I actually had somebody contact me last week, and they said it was the CFA that caught their attention because it had had credibility. They're looking for somebody to speak to their group on financial literacy, and the CFA gave me the street cred for it, so it was really good.
Well, I know it's slightly off topic, but I'm a big believer in LinkedIn, partially because I'm a tech analyst and it's controlled by Microsoft. But I tell all young people, including my students, hey, it's cool to have those Facebook cat photos or that photo of you on the back of a boat skiing. But when it comes to business, you should be on LinkedIn, and you should have a profile that is every bit as high quality and comprehensive as your resume, because I've seen some companies say, oh, don't send me the resume. I just want your LinkedIn profile. So everybody dig into LinkedIn and take that profile seriously, particularly if you're looking for a gig.
Yeah, that's a great pro tip. Thank you. And I wonder, Katie, if you, for those people that will be listening to the recording of this, if you can, if there's anything you feel that people should know about the candidate process, or any pertinent dates that are coming up that they should know about.
So I think the biggest thing coming up is the mock exam. This time is going to be a virtual online mock exam. November 14th, I believe, is the virtual date. And so that's going to be, you will not get a better deal. So that's a critical component. If you have any questions, you can email the society, or you can look on the website, or there's a million ways to register for it. So that would be the biggest plug I would want to give right now.
And what about scholarships?
Scholarships as well. We actually do still have a couple scholarships available for this year's exam. If anybody needs, we have a Kaplan scholarship available, also a CFA South Carolina Women's Scholarship available, which is a reimbursable scholarship. So any females that have paid money to take the exam, that could be reimbursed up to $500. Also, we do have a Kaplan scholarship that if you don't need it for study materials for December, you can use it for practice exams and things like that. So that all is on the website too for CFA Society of South Carolina. And it's a surprise to me that I guess a lot of companies do subsidize this stuff for people, but for students especially that are looking to do this, these scholarships are available, and don't miss out on.
That's great. Thank you. And Liz, from the Institute level, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know about?
Sure. So my advice is, if you are currently a registered candidate to sit for December or onwards, is to make sure that your email address is updated so you're receiving all of our communications. With the global pandemic, this has been a very challenging year for us, but we are going to try to deliver the exam in December in as many locations as we can. But it's extremely important that our candidates are receiving and reviewing our emails to ensure that they have those deadlines in place. We have some coming up, so that they make sure that they have the right information to make the right decisions. But the exciting news is we are transitioning to a computer-based testing, which we're really excited about. So I always love hearing the stories of our senior charter holders telling stories of walking uphill both ways in the snow. But we're excited to offer computer-based testing starting in 2021. We're thrilled about this because we'll be able to offer the exam in every location that we're currently in, and I believe it's 100 more test centers, and it'll only grow. So as a global organization, we're thrilled to be able to offer test center locations for countries like Uruguay, who have no test centers at all. So that's something we're really excited about. And all of our information is online, and you can also contact us at info@cfainstitute.org if you have specific questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And do you have any questions for us today, Jack?
Actually, it was one about the scholarships for you, Katie. Do you have to live in South Carolina to get that, or is that anyone can apply, or is it like a certain region?
No, actually, you don't have to live in South Carolina to get it. Where are you?
Knoxville.
Knoxville. How did you find us?
Karen.
Karen. Okay.
Karen knows everybody. She's a player.
I actually do not think that that is a requirement. I don't know that that's never been an issue. So I'm gonna have to, I'll look back and see. But as it's written, I think right now anybody really can apply, especially at this point, given we still have scholarships available for the December exam.
Yeah. I'm looking like a couple years down the road, and that was gonna actually be my next question for you, Mr.
Always stay on the website. So look at both the Institute website and the Society websites.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Where are you in school now?
Yes, I'm a junior at Tennessee.
You're a junior. So next year you would probably want to start level 1. I would say do it simultaneously while you're still learning. It's a great time to do it.
Right.
Look at the local websites. The Institute offers access scholarships and different types of scholarships, but our society scholarships aren't necessarily, they can overlap. You can get multiple scholarships. So I actually, back in when I was taking the exam, which actually wasn't that long ago, I've only been a charter holder for about a year. So when I was taking the exam, I was able to get a women's scholarship and a society scholarship and load them all up. So my Kaplan was paid for and everything was paid for. So definitely look at it.
Hey, Jack, if you have an opportunity, if at UT they have this research challenge, check it out, because you'll get a taste and you'll see if you like it or not. I've always thought it was a great program. I'm a mentor at either the Citadel or the College of Charleston, or sometimes both. But I would recommend it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's also the Torch Fund here at UT. I'm not going to go too far into that because that's not what you're talking about, but it's just pretty much portfolio management. They take 15 or so students for a whole year and manage a portfolio of like 2.8 million. So I'm applying for that next year. So
good on you.
Or what's that?
One final piece of advice for me as well. We have a program called Investment Foundations. 1 in 10 certificate holders go on to the CFA program. Currently, it's free and it's completely online. So it's a great way to kind of dip your toe into content, but also the learning ecosystem, which is a phenomenal program that we have for the CFA program. So all of our content for the CFA program, once you register, is online, and they have gamification with quizzing and mock exams. So the Foundations is free. It's more foundational, but it's something that typically takes 40 to 100 hours, depending on how familiar you are with finance concepts. But that could be a good way if you're looking for a little bit something extra to do, and it can add to your LinkedIn profile by adding that certificate.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Woo! Going on.
And I'll get one more plug for the research challenge as well, and that's something we'll be talking a lot about. I was on the board of the society in Spokane, and I was one of the graders for that. And that is a really good way in terms if you're looking for job prospects, because on the research challenge, you know, if it's your local level, you have one group that are graders, you have another that receive the presentations, and then you have judges, and that's just in your local level. Then if you move up, you get more visibility within the regions, and then you could go all the way to, you know, the global research challenge. So, you know, again, if you're picking and choosing, I would probably, if you're going between the research challenge and another challenge there at UT, I would hands down say the research challenge will be something. And again, if you're wanting to be a research analyst, anybody would be hiring you knows about the research challenge, and they know what it takes to do that. So that would be something I'd be mindful of, as well as if you have to pick and choose which programs to go into.
Awesome.
And when you're done, you have a high quality report. So you go into an interview and say, hey, dude, I did that report.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was actually going to be my question for you, kind of just found about the CFA exam. What that Katie kind of answered was, do you recommend kind of studying for level 1 as you're doing undergrad, your junior, senior, or kind of wait to get experience and then kind of start going forward with that?
Yeah. Well, the team here might have different thoughts.
Yeah.
But I would say, and I know this because I have recommended it, you know, because I've been a teacher since 2005, 3 different universities. And I say to students that if you really want to do this, and you know, say it's your senior year and you have the time, I would say that you should think of this as it's going to be a course, right? And if you treat it as a course, and so you usually take 4 courses, but you have 3 plus the CFA prep, because you got to go, you know, all in. And so, yeah, you could do it, and man, you would get a big head start, because by the time I got my CFA, I was out of college for 11 years. Think about it, Jack. If you did it, you know, you're like a CFA in your 20s, and you're like a rock star, and I'm like the old man. So yeah, if you do it, if you have the time, right, as a senior, but make sure that you actually kind of slot it as a full course, at least in your head.
Yeah, like actually build out blocks in my schedule that say study for this for at least 2 hours on certain days.
I mean, the way I tell people to study for it, this is what I did, and before I got blown up by derivatives, it worked. What I did every year is this: I would say, okay, New Year's resolution, I'm going to take that test. So on New Year's, I would get the books, right? Maybe order them, you know, last week of December or so. The books would come, and I actually would go through the syllabus and count how many pages I had to read in total. And back then, you know, they actually sent you books. So if you stacked up the books, it was a big pile. Yeah. And so, you know, I was going to have to read. Yeah. We all went through that. I was going to have to read, you know, 2,752 pages. And so what I did is I said, I want to read all the material and be done 1 month before the exam. So then the last month I can relax and take the mock exams and stuff. And so I figured out I had to read like 40 to 50 pages every day to finish up before a month. And that worked out really well because I was, you know, relaxed, you know, very disciplined. So I know it's kind of hokey to go through and count how many pages you have to read per night, but I did that, and it actually worked. So, you know, maybe that also is something that you think about, you know, how much time you need, even as an undergraduate, to study for the first test. You know, you just back it off from the test.
Yeah.
And as a matter of logistics, you can register for the exam when you are a senior, but you're not able to register for level 2 until you've actually graduated college or you have 4 years of qualifying work experience. Yeah. And then in order to earn the designation, you need to pass all 3 levels plus have 48 months, 4 years of qualifying work experience. So actually demonstrating that you understand the knowledge, but you also have the experience as well.
Right. That's why I asked him, like, wait, I saw the experience. Do I need that for level 1 as well? Thank you.
But you know what? And one of the reasons as a student, it's good to get the exam out of the way. One, you're already in student mode anyway. Get the exams out of the way, because then you can focus on your job.
Yep.
And it'll just be a formality to be able to get the charter.
And one thing I think that happens, Jack, at least I think it should happen, is you know, once you start working, you know, you're probably still a 2 or 3 candidate, right? Maybe you've just done the 1. quite often, companies, because like my company, advertises the hell out of it that I'm a CFO, they might pay any fees you have.
Yeah.
Right. And particularly when you first enter the program, it's a bigger fee, and then later on it's a, smaller fee.
Mhm.
But man, you might be able to get somebody to pay you for it or reimburse, your expenses.
Yeah.
So, ask for that order.
And get nice bonuses. That's what I got bonuses for mine, which was always nice.
Yeah. I've heard about that too. That's all I have for you guys, question wise. So.
Well, excellent. Well, this was great. And for those listening to the recording, we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you, Paul, very much for coming and sharing your experience with us, and the others from the society. Thank you for joining us. And again, our next one will be Justin Pickney, and he will be speaking October 29th at 12 p.m. So thank you all.
It's highly likely that he's not as funny as me.
We'll be the judge next time. We have a polling option, so maybe
All right.
on that. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.